shape, thought find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He's a bilingual author, illustrator, and media professor, none other than Mr. Karl Beckstrand.
Hi there.
Welcome, Mr. Carl on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Well, thank you, Daniel. Thanks for letting me join you. I grew up in San Jose, California. I've lived abroad in South America, and I currently live in Utah. And I've been published for over 21 years now. I started, a couple of my early books were with publishers, and now I self publish.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Carl. Thank you. So today let's talk about traditional versus self-publishing. So tell us, let's start with the fundamental question. Is the choice between traditional and self-publishing a matter of which better, or is it about which is better for a specific author and specific book?
Well, it used to be that the large publishing houses were the only ones with distribution and were the only ones with prestige and with the big marketing machine to promote books. But nowadays, self-publishing is so much easier. I have agreements with the major book distributors or wholesalers that the big publishing houses have. So I guess the only thing that I may not have is the large publishing house prestige.
Mm-hmm. The only difference, people. And for sure, the marketing itself, it's hard to market. Yeah, imagine. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mr. Carl.
and marketing a book is required whether you're self-published or with a traditional publishing house. You still, as the author, have the majority of the work of the marketing on your shoulders.
Yes, definitely. And what are the key personality traits of an author who will thrive with self publishing versus one who would be better suited for the traditional route?
Well, I think it's a matter of taste, but I found that when I worked with a publisher, they controlled the content of my books, they controlled the marketing or the lack thereof, and they controlled the money. And I decided that I liked having control of those three things, that those were important things for me to control. And so that's why I personally prefer to self publish.
Self published indeed. And beyond just getting a book into the world, what are the different definition of success in the each camp, Mr. Carl?
Well, I think success is defined by each individual person. The fact that I'm a children's publisher today and that I've been around 21 years in the industry, to me, that speaks volumes of great success because most children's publishers or most people who publish children's books um, don't survive that long. It's a very competitive genre.
Mm, competitive indeed. And Mr. Carl, how does an author's long term career vision, writing as a hobby versus building a business, should influence this initial decision?
Well, I've known some authors who uh, only want to write, and they've published, and they do what they want, and that is to write, and they don't want to market, but their exposure is very limited, and so their sales are very low, um, and so that's fine. If your goal is you just want to write and get your book out, you can work that way. But if you want to have your message reach many people, then you need to market as well. And unfortunately, that's a huge part of publishing. I wish I could say that I wrote for 50% of the time of my work, but I actually market for more than 50% of my time.
Mm, yes. Marketing is indeed Marketing is the hardest thing to do on the realities of traditional publishing. Beyond the validation, what are the most significant non-obvious benefits a quality traditional publishing deal provides that are hard to replicate on your own?
Well, like I said, I may not have the prestige of a large publishing house, but that as time goes by, that seems less and less important to readers. Readers just want good material to read, and if you have a professional editor go over your work, um, then your readers will get high quality product regardless of who publishes it.
Hmm. High quality people because our readers are so clever nowadays. The gatekeeper system is often criticized, but what value do those gates, agents, editors, publishers actually provide in refining a manuscript and author's career?
Yes, gatekeepers play a huge role. In fact, they've, I think, inspired the explosion of self-published authors because big publishing houses have become so difficult to work with. You can't just submit a manuscript anymore. You have to submit through an agent, and even then, you're not guaranteed, that they'll see your manuscript. It takes a lot of work and a lot of time and effort um, to get that little bit of prestige. So yes, they have their place. I can understand, publishing houses don't want to be completely buried in manuscripts, um, but that has prompted so many people now to self-publish, and I think that's good for the reader, as long as whoever publishes produces quality work, has it edited by a professional, and after that, it doesn't really matter.
Yes, it doesn't really matter, people. And Mr. Carl, can you demystify the timeline from finishing a manuscript to seeing it in a bookstore shelf? What does a realistic calendar book like in a traditional publishing?
So traditional publishing, you want to get an agent even before you've finished writing. And I know that um, publishers typically have their own editors, but often authors will hire an editor prior to submitting their work to an agent or to a publisher, just to make sure that it's high quality product. So you submit. Well, what you need to do to get an agent is to research the genre that you're writing in, whether it's crime or romance or what have you, and find agents that have promoted authors successfully in that genre. And so once you find one of those agents, then you have to do query letter and query them and see if they'll take you on as their client. Um, and then the agent has the task of peddling or marketing or selling your manuscript to publishers, and that can take months and years. Um, and even if they get your manuscript read by a publisher, it may still be months or years before they make a decision, before they publish. And so it's a very long timetable to go the traditional route.
Yes, long, long, long. And what are the most common clues in the first time authors traditionally publishing contract that they should be wary of or try to negotiate?
I always like to make sure that it's clear that I have final say about content. Editors are very helpful in suggesting changes, and that's typically very good. And publishers, of course, want to suggest changes as well. But if they have the final say, then that gives you less power. And so I want to make sure that if I sign a contract, that I have the last word on the content of the book. Also, I would look for royalties that are above 6% for print. That's Publishers often pay very little to authors, and margins are low for publishers, for everyone in the publishing business. But authors, I believe, deserve more than 6% or 10%. 10% would be my minimum that I would accept. for royalty.
Interesting. Sir Carl, on the empowering challenge of self
Mhm.
publishing is often called entrepreneurial publishing. What does it really mean in terms of the hats an author has to wear beyond just writer?
Yes, if you're self-publishing, technology does make it easier these days, but you still do wear a lot of hats. You are your writer, you are your marketer, you're your accountant, you're your lawyer. Although it's good to you can hire an accountant and a lawyer, which is always best. But when you're first starting out, sometimes you just got to do everything yourself. And you're
Yes.
doing your promotions on email and social media and press releases. So there are a lot of tasks involved with being your own publisher.
Yes. So, what is the single most important factor that separates successful self-published book from one of to gets lost in the digital shuffle, Mr. Carl?
Hmm. A few years ago, I used to say it was getting good reviews, having quality product, and then getting good reviews based on that. Um, and I used to be able to track sales, that as reviews went up, my sales went up. But it's not always perfectly tied to that. I think you definitely need a quality product for sure. Um, and, and you need to not be distracted by all the marketing companies that are out there. There are myriads of book marketing companies out there that want your money, and only a few of them are effective. So you need to find what's effective, what's most effective for your niche, and not spend your money everywhere. And then the other thing to do that I think is really critical to long-term success of your book is if you believe your book is high quality, which it should be if you've edited it, um, then you should continue to market it on an ongoing basis as if it were brand new. Large publishing houses will market for a few weeks or months, and then they typically stop marketing a book after that. But if you're always promoting your book um, with the same enthusiasm as when it first came out, you'll find that sales will continue.
Yes, definitely. Consistency is the key, people.
Mhm.
Consistency is the key. And Mr. Carl, for self-publisher, where should they invest their limited budget first to get the budget return?
Where should they invest their time?
Yes. So where first they will invest their limited
Oh,
budget?
where would they publish it as well? Um,
Yes.
there are many platforms. Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing (KDP) is free to upload files, and the nice thing about print on demand, which is that service, is that the book doesn't exist until a customer clicks on it, and then it prints and ships directly to the customer. You don't touch it, but you get a royalty. There's also Ingram Spark that has a similar service, print on demand, and you can upload your files. And then when the customer clicks, it prints and ships, and then you get a royalty. There are also companies like Draft to Digital that will receive your files and upload them to multiple ebook sites so that you don't have to spend a lot of time uploading the same ebook over and over again to different ebook sites.
Yes. That's a good idea, Mr. Carl. On control time and money, let's talk about creative control. Beyond cover and title, what are some of the less discussed elements of a book that an author gives up a traditional deal?
Mm. Well, as I say, many times an editor or a publisher may suggest changes that actually improve a book. One of my favorite fiction books is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. And
Hmm.
for decades, that was her only book. And I often wondered, how did she create such a masterpiece on her very first try with one book? And then I realized that she worked with an excellent editor for 2 or 3 years. And so editors and publishers do have usually have your best interest at heart uh, in suggesting changes. However, if you feel like something critical is being altered, like I had a book about my great great aunt that immigrated to the United States as a child. And the reason that she immigrated was because her family was poor. Her family sent her here so that she could have a better life. And one of my early publishers uh, wanted to depict the family as very wealthy. Um,
It's okay, mister. I'll just continue. I can fix it later.
okay, and I said no. The whole reason that she immigrated was because of their poverty. That has to be part of the story. And so sometimes they don't always catch your vision. So you do need to stand up for yourself and for your writing.
Interesting, Mr. Carl. And as a bilingual author, illustrator, and media professor, what are your short term and long term goals?
Oh wow! Short term, I want to keep producing quality books that people can enjoy. I always like people to find value in what I write, that they feel like they've been enlightened. And um, I'll give you a little secret. If you write a story or a book to teach or educate, um, that can work. But often people who feel like your main goal is to teach them feel bored with your efforts. But if your primary goal is to entertain, then there will be learning regardless of the content. If your content is entertaining. And so even though many of my books are for children, I still write to entertain adults because I don't want the adults who read to their children to be bored.
Hmm, yes, definitely. And good luck to your goals and looking forward for more success, Mr. Carl. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
If you want to be published, it's critical that you write every day. If you sit down at the same time every day, even if it's just for 10 minutes and write, um, that consistency will eventually produce a book. So, yeah, be consistent in your writing, be consistent in your marketing, and know your audience. Know what they like and what they don't like.
Yes, definitely. Consistency and keep writing and writing and writing, people, and stop procrastinating. And Mr. Carl, thank you for that advice. And would you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Oh, books that I didn't write that influenced me?
Yes, books
Oh,
that influence your journey.
sure. So I mentioned Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. My favorite nonfiction book is John Adams, his biography by David McCullough. And when I
Yes.
was a child and I didn't like to read, um, I I got the measles, and my grandmother bought me a book called Bicycles North: A Mystery on Wheels, and that was the first time that I was really transported by a book and found that they could be wonderful.
Yes, wonderful indeed. And thank you for the recommended books, Mr. Carl. The hybrid model is emerging. What does a smart hybrid career look like, and how can an author leverage the strength of both worlds?
Yes, hybrid used to mean vanity presses that you had to pay them to publish your book, which isn't great. But
Hmm.
hybrid nowadays is becoming more where you can outsource public editing and other business activities to a company that will help you for a share of the profits or for a fee. And it can work. It can be beneficial. You still have to vet companies and make sure that they're on the up and up and they're not out just for your money.
Yes, and Mr. Carl, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in fourth season, and food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101, love letters Movie 101 Review, Music 101, our fourth season, and Science 101, Sex 101 in its second season, and my baby podcast, Law 101, Mental Health 101, and Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Carr, finally, if you could give one piece of unequivocal advice to an author standing at the crossroads today, what would it be?
Do a lot of reading and do a lot of writing.
Yes, lots of reading and lots of writing, and as Mr. Carl said, keep writing every day. Okay, so Mr. Carl, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world.
Thank
So,
you,
can you
Ben.
please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your books, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Oh, sure. You can find my books. Usually I have one or two free ebooks on Amazon.com, but my website is kidsworldbooks.com, which also has some free ebooks and free lesson plans. Yeah, they're
Mhm.
multicultural and they're fun.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Karl Beckstrand because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering books will come. So, Mr. Karl, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
Podcast people, see you soon.